All right, Saagar, what's on your radar?
Well, Fox Business reporter Charles Gasparino shocked the political world yesterday when he reported that President Barack Obama is anxious about the rise of Bernie Sanders in national polls and is even considering making a public statement addressing it because he's so distressed about democratic socialism. As the days inch closer to the Iowa caucuses, I am again struck by the similarities to the 2016 presidential primary on the Republican side. Bernie is just like Trump in that the entire Democratic establishment and media essentially spent the last year trying to convince themselves and everyone else that he's a joke. Ironically, this is probably the best thing that could have ever happened to him. He couldn't rely on earned media in order to get his message out, so he relied on social media instead. That ended up yielding him the largest organically acquired war chest in the entire primary. He's got plenty of staff, but it's as if he hardly needs them. The social media army of donors has also transformed themselves into one of the largest grassroots volunteer organizations seen since the 2008 Obama campaign. All of this was organized on the internet, completely without the support of the elite media, the DNC, or rich donors. So right now, when those three groups wake up, realize what's happening, they literally can't do anything. It's precisely what happened with Donald Trump. People basically called him a joke, dismissed his high poll numbers as a mirage until about a week before the Iowa caucuses. I was here in D.C. I'll never forget it. The phrase, "he might actually win," began to be whispered everywhere. But here's the thing. By that time, it was too late because Trump basically had all the same things going for him, absent the donors, since he was already rich. The train had already left the station. No amount of billionaire funding, never Trumpers on media, or even more could actually stop it. One of the signature moments of the establishment's last gasp against Trump was this moment.
Here's what I know. Donald Trump is a phony, a fraud. His promises are as worthless as a degree from Trump University. He's playing the members of the American public for suckers. He gets a free ride to the White House, and all we get is a lousy hat.
How did that work out? Well, I think we all remember this iconic photo from a few short months later. Romney was shocked to find out that Trump actually knew a lot more about what GOP voters wanted than he did. Obama is in for the same lesson if he were to actually speak out against Sanders. Sanders' sky-high favorability ratings and trust ratings on the key issues of health care are exactly how GOP voters trusted Trump more than any other politician on the issue of immigration. Ultimately, this might even be a moot comparison. I don't think Obama will actually speak out against Sanders. A few other reporters said that other sources in Obama world scoffed at the idea that he might do so. So don't mistake this, though, for being okay with the Sanders candidacy. Instead, recognize it as self-interest. Bernie has favorability ratings and support amongst the youngest Americans who got especially screwed over by the Obama presidency. It would do long-term, massive damage to Obama's brand. And Obama, after all, has the Clinton enrichment route, except on steroids. Himself and Michelle Obama have basically turned themselves into vapid Instagram influencers. And the thing about Instagram influencers is that you have to stay well-liked by everybody, especially when your entire shtick is that you're a cool guy ex-president who hangs out with billionaires on their private islands, and then your wife goes on stadium tours. The Obamas literally can't afford to alienate young people because that would mean less people might buy their books or tune out from whatever vapid Netflix special that they decide to produce with their production company, which we all know was given to them because of their vast experience in the film industry. And it's funny, Crystal, that ultimately the capitalist concerns of Obama will probably stop him from ever actually intervening in the primary against Bernie. But ironically, even if he did, it would, A, destroy his own personal brand.
It would.
And I think it would actually spew more people towards Sanders.
It's hard to say what would happen. I mean, he is the one person that I think could really change the dynamics of this race potentially.
If he endorsed Biden.
If he endorsed Biden, I think that would be the move rather than, it just looks ugly if you come out and say, not this guy.
Right.
Especially at a time when we've had it beaten into our heads for years now. Unity, unity, unity. Whoever gets nominated, we all have to support them, right? That we never, that caveat of unless it's Bernie Sanders was conveniently never added. But the other thing with Obama is he's never liked to get his hands dirty in politics. He likes to sort of passive-aggressively opine, scold people who are too woke on Twitter, the activist base, which, by the way, we're are the people that put you into office. Like this idealistic anti-war movement is what actually brought him into office, but he doesn't have much use for them nowadays. He didn't have much use for them.
They don't pay very well.
Right, and he didn't have much use for them when he was in office either. But no, he doesn't want to get actually in the muck and the mud with this in the way that it would tarnish his image, because you're right. It would be such a schism in the Democratic Party. And if you worry about everybody coming together after the nomination and backing whoever the ultimate nominee is, something like this could absolutely destroy that kind of unity. You would have a good number of people who say, forget it, I'm done.
Yeah, it would. And really, people do forget. Everyone's like, oh, the Democratic faithful, they love Obama. I think that's true. But ultimately, what do you need to do if you want to win back the White House? Who are all these people who went from Obama to Trump? I mean, think about how dramatic it takes in order to make that vote. And also remember this. These are the people most let down by the Obama administration. They voted for Barack Hussein Obama twice, right? The people who, by the way, are supposedly racist. And they said they gave their faith in this man to bail them out from the financial crisis, bring back their jobs, stop the total loss of manufacturing. Instead, what ended up happening? The literal opposite. So they turned to Donald Trump. Now, ultimately, if Obama were to speak out against somebody, that might actually encourage people who are independents. And like I said, young people who were most destroyed by the Obama presidency. I mean, look at the student debt numbers and the household debt and the amount of people who lost their jobs and their houses and all of that under him and never gained it back. Like the real structural rot of the American economy is very much at his feet. And I think that if he were to speak out, it might have a very counter effect.
Yeah.
Because people have a lot of personal affection for Obama, but go out and ask normal people, even Democrats like Andrew Yang, when he's like, you know what? Obama broke my heart. I think that's true across this entire country.
I think, too, what you see in the poll is, yes, personal affection for him as a man, as a family man, all of that, yes. But then when you ask people, do you want to continue the Obama ways or do you want to do something different, you get a much different answer, which tells you, I mean, look, last time he thought that if he just laid his hands on Hillary Clinton, that he was so beloved, which he was, and he was popular at the time among the broad public, that would be enough to get her elected. Obviously, it wasn't, right? So nothing could be better for Bernie Sanders' brand than having all of the elites of the Democratic establishment clearly line up in opposition to him, not in support of Joe, but directly in opposition to him. We said Jim Messina going on, what was it, on Morning Joe?
We're going to play
that later, but him saying, Bernie would be the worst candidate. All these things only help Bernie Sanders, so please continue. Please proceed.
All right, I'm looking forward to your radar next, Crystal.